So welcome to the Payroll Test Tool from Strategic Data Solutions. This is a regression testing tool which users can employ to test changes in the system from wage type, processing class changes up to multiple HRSP implementations. For example, testing both negative impact, so if you were to apply HRSPs you may not expect there to be any changes in the payroll results, and also positive testing, so such as if you change a processing class you may expect it to accumulate into total gross, for example, where it didn't previously, so you would expect a difference to be there, and you would create the project and the tests based on that. You would work through the test tool via these 7 steps here, starting by defining the projects and the tests that you're going to use to sort and test the differences which you may have. Once you've defined the project, you would run the payroll, or if payroll is already run, you would extract the source data. Now the source data is the payroll results for the employees and the wage types that you want to actually test, which you define in the test. Once you're sure that that data is the correct data, you don't want to go back and change your population, which you can do, you would confirm the source data, and that basically locks down the source data. Once you've locked down the source data, you would then implement the change, as I say, the PCR or the HRSP into the same system, and you would rerun payroll for the same employees and same populations as you had already defined for the source data. Once this data has been updated, once the payroll results have been updated, you would go to extract target. Extract target does the same kind of thing as extract source, but it extracts now the new updated payroll results. The source data, which was the original results, and the target data are then compared via this second final step here, compare payroll results, which will then identify pictographically, very simple to see any differences in the results, whether these are actually within any defined acceptable differences limits. So it's probably easy to show you via a demonstration here. And we will go and copy an existing project. So if we double click on this, you can see that the header data contains the information for the project that we're working with. And the summary, the grid here, will show you a summary of previous comparisons. So these projects here have been compared. The icons are used throughout the test tool, so you will become familiar with those quite quickly. And here's a summary of the test cases in this particular project that are passed, those that have failed, and those with acceptable differences. So if we go ahead and copy an existing project, we can rename this to Basic Pay and Bonus, for example, and we'll save that. And what that does is it creates a new project with the next sequence number that's available to us. We'll go ahead and we will manage tests to create some new tests. Now this test here that's already defined was existing in the project ID 103, which is the one we copied, so we can change this to suit the new testing which we had. We can add a couple of lines in here, so let's add, for example, results table, the amount field of employee and and let's have an ad hoc payment as well. Let's choose, yeah, that's a good one. Let's choose that one. Okay, so if we save that, we want to also define some acceptable differences. So acceptable differences being amounts where we're kind of expecting a difference to be there, but within certain limits, be they rounding, for example, we're fine. We don't want this. We don't want the test tool to show that there are failures. So we'll go ahead and we'll define it for this project ID and test ID that we're looking at. And if we say that the employee NI can be within a plus or minus of 10 pence. So basically the difference between the source and target data for the employee NI contributions, if it's within plus or minus 10 pence, then that's fine for this particular test project. Okay, so if we close that, and we are going to extract the source data. So this is the source data that we're reading in for the defined employee. We have one employee here. We're testing for the purposes of this project, and we're reading in from the cumulative results table and the results table, reading in the amount field of these particular wage types. So what it's going to do once we click on the extract source data icon, it's going to read in these values, and these are read in from the payroll results, and you could check those via the payroll results fields if you wish to for comparison. And there's only one test in here, so that's what we're going to do. So that's fine, that's all I want. We'll click on extract source, and you can see that the source extracted icon appears in the header data, and the status of the project has changed. So I'm happy with that. We'll confirm the source data on there. Give us a little question just to make sure we are absolutely sure of the data, and we'll say yes for that. So what we need to do now is to implement the change into the system and then rerun the payroll, and then we'll extract the target. Okay, so we have implemented a change into the system and we are ready to extract the target data now. If we go ahead and do that, we've come back into the test tool, chosen the project ID just by choosing it, selecting it from the drop down in the header. You can see these. It says your project IDs, project status, so you can see that. We've chosen that and we're going to click on extract target. And you will see that it's now going to pull in one line of data. You can double click on that to see the information it's going to bring in. And then you can extract the data from there. And you'll see here we don't get a confirmation again, it's just target extracted. Now you can at this point re-extract the target data if you like. If you want to make any changes to the details that you saw and it's immediately obvious there's going to be a change, you can redo the cycles of target extraction as many times as you like. The target and the source data are in the system now. We'll go ahead and we'll compare the results. Select the line that we want to, because there may be more than one cycle in there, and we can compare on that. Now what you'll see here is immediately obvious here is the column of status icons that we have over to the right hand side here. Now this will show you straight away that you have two differences that have failed, one comparison that is an acceptable difference. You have two comparisons that have passed, and we have a warning icon here. So you can use these buttons to filter if you wish, just on normal, just like a normal filtering on an ALV output. What this means is that the source value, the target value, here we have a difference of 4,500 here. The total gross has come down by 4,500, and that's because we don't have an acceptable difference defined on the /101 on the total gross. This is seen as a failure because the two values are different. Here on the /301, if you remember, we defined an acceptable difference for /301. You can see that this icon is a link if I hover over it. Now what that does, if you click on that, it'll show you the acceptable difference that you defined for that wage type. And this is the one that we defined earlier on when we were talking about the tests. So that's great, we know that. Here we have the ad hoc payment that we defined is the same in both periods, as is the basic pay. The bonus wage type that we sort in the extract source and extract target data appears in the source data, but for some reason after we applied the changes into the system, the bonus has actually disappeared from the payroll results. So when we ran payroll results after applying the change, the bonus has actually disappeared. Now, since this may or may not be acceptable, what the test tool does is it actually identifies it as a warning. Not a failure, but as a warning, because it may be right that once you have made the change, you don't actually want a specific wage type to appear. That may be part of the change that was implemented. So this is a warning here. What we can do in this final column is we can click on that and then use this icon here to actually add a note. And save that. And what that does is that creates an icon in this field next to the row that you've actually applied it, which is then a hyperlink, which if you click on it will show the person clicking on it what the message is. So you could add some details in there, some date on when the note was added, who added it, that type of information, so that that can be followed up with whoever made the note and was ever making the comparisons. So once you have made all the comparisons within the test tool, you would go ahead and you would just complete the project. You can then go back to the Manage Projects, and you will see that that's been set as a completed project in the overview, and that would be the completion of the test. I hope you've enjoyed that brief overview of the test tool from SDS, and if you've got any other questions, please get in touch with us, and we look forward to hearing from you. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.